I couldn't believe this was real. People who can hold their breath underwater longer than a dolphin, live their entire lives at sea, and even give birth right in the ocean. This is not a myth, but a reality I have witnessed with my own eyes. Today, I will tell you about a people whose existence shatters our usual understanding of human capabilities. But I warn you, the further you watch, the more astonished you will be. They are called the Bajau sea nomads, for whom the ocean is not just a home, but an entire universe. Their villages float on water, their children dive deeper than experienced divers from their earliest years, and their elders, even at 90, can stay underwater longer than most young people. Imagine this: you're sitting in a boat, beneath you an endless blue abyss, and next to you sits a person who, with a single breath, can descend 70 meters, spear a fish, and return without the slightest sign of exhaustion. Sounds like a superpower? For the Bajau, this is everyday life. They are spread across 3 countries: Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines. But despite national borders, they remain one people, united by the sea and their traditions. They are called the gypsies of the ocean. They are not tied to the land, their world moves with the tides. We begin our journey in the Philippines, in the dangerous Sulu archipelago region. A place where there are no tourists at all, and which was once considered the stronghold of one of Southeast Asia's most ruthless groups. Even local Filipinos fear coming here. But this is where one of the most unique communities on the planet lives. Getting here is an adventure in itself. Several flights, hours on a boat, and suddenly a place appears before your eyes that they call the Venice of the South. Houses on stilts, walkways instead of streets, children kicking a ball right over the water. There are no cars, no familiar city noise. Only the sea, the voices of people, and the cries of seabirds. And here's what's amazing: almost the entire population of these islands is Muslim. We arrived during Ramadan, when no one eats or drinks during the day, and in the evening, the whole village gathers for iftar. We were invited to join, and it was something incredible: dozens of people at one table, sharing food as if we had known each other our whole lives. But the main thing is their diving ability. One man quietly went underwater, and after 3 minutes we began to worry, where was he? After 5 minutes, we could hardly believe our eyes. After 10, he still hadn't appeared. Only on the 13th minute did he surface, holding a freshly caught octopus in his hands. How do they do it? Scientists claim that the Bajau have enlarged spleens, which work like a natural oxygen tank. But the Bajau themselves say the secret is in training. From childhood, they spend hours in the water, their bodies adapt, and their minds learn to operate at the edge of human limits. In the middle of the video, I want to ask you, subscribe to the channel right now, so you don't miss new incredible stories. Believe me, it only gets more interesting from here. But our expedition didn't end in the Philippines. To see the full scale of this phenomenon, we went to Indonesia, to the island of Sulawesi. There, in the village of Kabalutan, lives another Bajau clan. They not only fish, but have preserved the ancient lapa-lapa boats, on which their ancestors sailed the ocean hundreds of years ago. In the evening, we found ourselves in the home of a local man named Yago. He is 89 years old and a legend. Films have been made about him, articles written, but behind his smile lies tragedy. He lost his son to the sea. The ocean gives life and takes it away, he told me, gazing into the distance where the sun was slowly sinking into the water. The next morning, we went fishing. Just a few people on the boat, spears, nets, and no modern equipment. But when we reached the open sea, I realized this was not just fishing, it was a ritual. One of the men dove, and once again, we witnessed something that seemed impossible. 70 meters deep. Without scuba gear. It is said that in the past, the Bajau were pirates, scouts, and maritime traders. Entire fleets feared them. Today, they struggle to survive. Large commercial companies catch fish by the ton, depriving them of their main source of food and income. Yet the Bajau continue to live as their ancestors did, guided by the sea and the stars. And do you know what's most amazing? Their children, at just 2 years old, swim better than many adults, and by the age of 5, they can dive several meters deep. This is a generation literally born in the water. So who are they, descendants of pirates, unique divers, or the last true nomads of the ocean? That's for you to decide. But one thing I know for sure, meeting them forever changes your view of what humans are capable of. There is one story that is hard to believe, but I heard it from several Bajau elders. They say that many years ago, a boy from their village fell off a boat during a storm. He was carried away into the open ocean, and the search lasted for 3 days. When they found him, he was alive. He survived by drinking seawater, collecting rain, and catching small fish with his bare hands. For any other person, this sounds like fantasy, but the Bajau live in the sea so much that their bodies and minds are adapted to such trials. Another remarkable trait is their phenomenal underwater vision. Scientists studying Bajau children noticed that their eyes can focus underwater almost as sharply as on land. This means they can see fish or underwater objects where an ordinary person would see only a blurry shape. And all this is the result of living in salty water constantly from childhood. But there is also a darker side to this unique life. The Bajau tell of a so-called sea curse. According to their belief, if a fisherman takes more from the sea than he needs, the ocean will take something in return. Sometimes it's the catch, sometimes health, and sometimes even life. One elder told me he saw a strong and experienced diver disappear underwater and never resurface, even though the sea was calm and peaceful that day. People are convinced the ocean took him for greed. They still read the stars to navigate the night sea. Imagine, without a compass, without GPS, only the starry sky. The older men teach the children to recognize constellations that indicate the way to land, to fishing spots, and even help predict the weather. Surprisingly, the Bajau almost never fear sharks. They say a shark will not attack if you don't show fear. One fisherman even told me how during a night fishing trip his boat was followed by a 3-meter shark. He just kept fishing as if it wasn't there. Sometimes their life feels like an ancient myth. For example, on Sulawesi, I heard a legend about a Bajau girl who could hold her breath for 20 minutes. People believed she was chosen by the ocean. But one day she dived and never came back. And since then, her name is only whispered. But today, their culture faces increasing pressure from change. Young Bajau leave for cities, get used to smartphones, the internet, and life on land. The elders say this kills their sea spirit. Imagine, within 1 or 2 generations, the unique skills developed over hundreds of years might disappear. That's why, filming this video, I realized we are capturing not just the everyday life of people, but the last pages of a whole nation's story that exists on the border between legend and reality. If you want to see more stories like this and keep them alive in memory, subscribe to the channel and be sure to watch until the end, because ahead I will tell you about the most dangerous dive I have ever witnessed. And it happened with the Bajau. It happened on the last day of our expedition. We were already getting ready to leave, but one of the Bajau fishermen, named Armin, offered to show us the true skill of a diver. His words sounded like a challenge, and refusing was impossible. He stood at the edge of a narrow wooden boat, holding a long spear. The sea was calm that day, and the sun's rays penetrated the water all the way to the bottom. Armin took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and plunged into the abyss. Seconds passed slowly. 1 minute went by, then 2. By the 3rd minute, I was already looking at the water's surface, expecting him to return. But he still hadn't appeared. 5 minutes. A feeling of anxiety gripped my stomach. 6 minutes. I began to think we were witnessing a tragedy. And suddenly, from the depths, a dark figure slowly rose. It was Armin. He held a giant fish in his hands, weighing no less than 20 kilograms, and his face was calm, as if he had just stepped ashore, not come up from 70 meters deep. Later he told us that at the bottom he encountered a sea turtle that attracted the attention of a shark. He had to stay still, making no sudden movements, until the predator swam away. Only after that was he able to catch the fish and return. To us, it looked like a miracle, but for the Bajau, it's just part of their daily work. Their lives constantly balance between life and death. I realized one thing: this people live in constant dialogue with the sea. Sometimes it gives them abundance, sometimes it takes away the most precious things. But they never go against its will. They don't have words like to conquer the sea, only to listen and to understand. When we were leaving, Iago, the legendary old man, said a phrase that stuck in my memory: "We do not seek the land. The land seeks us when the sea lets go." And at that moment, I understood that we had filmed not just a journey, we had touched a world that lives by its own laws and might soon disappear. So, if you want such stories to continue to exist, subscribe to the channel right now. Ahead of us are even more incredible discoveries that might change your understanding of human potential. Few people know, but the origins of the Bajau people remain a mystery. Scientists debate. Some believe they originated in the southern Philippines and gradually spread across the seas of Southeast Asia. Others claim their ancestors came from a mysterious sunken land, Sunda-Land, which thousands of years ago connected the modern islands. According to Bajau legends, their forebears emerged from the ocean when the stars showed the way. There is an ancient legend that the first Bajau chief was not born on land, but in a lagoon surrounded by coral reefs. His mother, fleeing from a storm, found herself in the water and gave birth there. Locals say this is why their people have a special connection to the sea, it became their cradle. Modern research only confirms the uniqueness of the Bajau. Geneticists have discovered DNA adaptations that allow them to tolerate low oxygen levels longer than ordinary people. Their spleens are enlarged, and this is not innate to everyone, but a result of thousands of years of adaptation. This is the only known example in modern science where a lifestyle has altered the human body so rapidly. But there are also more mystical stories. In some Bajau villages, they still believe in the voice of the sea. This is a quiet rhythm of the waves that can only be heard at night, far from the shore. It is believed that if you hear this sound and don't return home before dawn, the sea will take you forever. Elders say that those who disappeared into the abyss heard this voice, and none returned. Among their traditions, one stands out especially. Before a long journey, they perform a ritual called the talk with the water. The head of the family dips his hands into the sea and whispers a prayer, then washes his face with the water and sprinkles it on the boat. They believe that then the ocean will accept them on their journey and will not harm them. But time goes on. More and more young Bajau are leaving their floating villages. Some go to study, others look for work on land. The elders watch this with sadness because they understand, with the youth's departure, the knowledge that is not written in books or on the internet disappears too. It is passed only by word of mouth, from father to son, from mother to daughter. And maybe in a few decades, the stories about people who lived on the water, dived to depths of 70 meters, and stayed underwater for more than 10 minutes will seem like legends. But I know one thing: we were there, we saw them, and now this story will remain not only in memory but also in this video. So watch it till the end, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell. Because ahead, I will show you even more amazing peoples whose traditions and skills will make you question the limits of human possibilities. And maybe one day, somewhere in the warm waters of the Pacific Ocean, you will see a Bajau boat. And then you will remember this story.